Welcome to a football show Monday edition, and then there were 4 teams left in the NFL, and then there were 3 Tennessee Titans head coaching candidates. Maybe. Paul Kuharsky, Braden, Gall. Good to see you, PK. Brought to you by Sinkers Beverages, of course. PaulKuharsky.com is the website. PK, good afternoon.
Hello. How we doing?
Are you staring at your phone the entire show today? Is that what's going to happen?
Good chance, yeah.
There's a good chance, but before the end of the show or sometime this evening, the Tennessee Titans have a new head football coach as they have both Robert Saleh and Matt Nagy in the building for second interview for Nagy, first interview, I guess, for Robert Saleh. Jeff Hafley is down the road with Miami, but also down the road with the Titans, so we will see. We're not going to spend a ton of time on like stuff that could go out of date here, but we've got big news in the NFL with Sean McDermott being fired. Should he be a factor in all of this for the Buffalo Bills? And we'll look at the Rooney Rule with Hafley in Miami, and we got lots of stuff to get to. You got the national championship game coming up tonight, so all kinds of stuff. People seem to also be obsessed with the process, but like the wrong part of the process. You have to finish every first interview before you get to a second interview, and you can't do a Zoom. You can't do an in-person if you're doing a Zoom on the same day. So we'll get to all of that.
Also, this like, oh my God, they're taking forever. 2 coaches have been hired.
Well,
for now 10 spots, 1/5 had been hired, and people are like, "Oh my God, what's taking so long?" I mean, people are out of control right now.
And one of their 3 finalists, Robert Saleh, could not meet in person until Saturday. They lost after the Niners lost.
Well, Nagy either. Right. All 3 of them couldn't meet in person until today.
So there you go. Lots of stuff to get to. Let's start with McDermott here, and because that kind of ties into the games we saw over the weekend. Look, the call of the interception, a really tough call to go against Buffalo. I understand why the officials say what they say and did what they did. I don't like it. I don't think it works. I think Buffalo, I thought they got the first down on the tush push or whatever. We'll call that a quarterback sneak from now on. Last year against the Chiefs, when Buffalo, I thought, got the first down. I thought they sort of got hosed on 2 major calls where they're inches away from advancing. And if those 2 calls go the other direction, PK, Sean McDermott is not fired today. So I am torn on good coaches being fired and the idea that you can automatically go hire somebody better than the guy you had. I think the Titans learned this with Vrabel. I think you look at John Harbaugh, that's a little bit different. If the Packers were to fire LaFleur, or if something were to happen to Shanahan, I think it's all be careful what you wish for. Where are you at on Buffalo moving on McDermott, how the game unfolded, the play call, the interception that wasn't or was? Where do you fall on all that?
Well, I hate the call on the interception, and I think McDermott's reaction is absolutely on target. Like, all right, but let's slow it down. Like, why is there such a hurry to just like call it and confirm it and not have the official involved in it and just get about business so quickly and make me call a timeout? I understand it's overtime and there are no challenges, but it just seemed very hasty. Like, all right, that's what we're doing, and we're doing it, and we're not no room for discussion, no air to breathe here. No, I mean, for all of the times that we see 4 or 5 officials huddle and talk, for this one to just be like, all right, first down, other way, here we go, just seemed really bizarre. There's a very similar play in the other game yesterday, and
you're talking about with Devontae Adams and the reception against the Bears,
yeah, and it goes the other way, and not a lot of talk about it either. It just
that one looked like a normal play that you and I have been watching in a football game for decades, though, where he catches it, he takes 2 steps, his knee goes down, and then the ball came out. Like it seemed very straightforward to me. The other one was less straightforward, but like still pretty close. I don't know.
Yeah, I really I don't like the call. McDermott, look, I feel like Buffalo and Baltimore are kind of tied together, right? They're the 2 teams that are due in the AFC. They're the 2 teams with the quarterbacks in the AFC who have not during this period of time broken through to go to a Super Bowl because of Mahomes and Kansas City, and with one interruption, really, because Burrow. and Cincinnati. That's the team that has taken advantage. And so for both of them to do it feels kind of like, I don't know. I would have been a little bit contingent on the other one. Like, well, if you're doing it, then I'm going to stay the course.
Right.
And so Baltimore did it. Baltimore's been in the same place for 18 years. I think it's more understandable. I don't think McDermott's an outrageously good coach. There's been some stuff written about relationships and power plays and all of that. But look, the resume is the resume. You want a guy who goes to the playoffs all the time with a good team and falls short over, like you said, you have no idea what the alternative is, especially while you may be at the head of the list, near the top of the list. Baltimore's also a really good job, and Pittsburgh is a really stable job. So it's not like you're automatic, and there's a possibility that you do worse. So
I would argue a probability that you do worse on a win-loss record and a Super Bowl appearance for Buffalo. That statistically, the probability that you do better than Sean McDermott's win-loss record in the regular season and get to a Super Bowl is pretty small.
I do think, though, you can't accuse them of impatience. They're more Baltimore.
That's true.
We've had this roster, good people. We've made several charges in the AFC, and we are just not breaking through, even here in a year where the door was open for us. And look at Denver has come now, and New England has come. They don't look to be disappearing, and they've passed us. And I don't think it's unreasonable to say, all right, we're going to try it a different way, and with stable front offices. It's not like we're sweeping everything out. They're keeping the GM in Buffalo and letting him hire again. Obviously, DaCosta is firmly in place still with Ozzie Newsome in a supervisory capacity in Baltimore. It's not like they're taking all of their stability and throwing it away. They're saying, we're going to change the coaching element and see if we can get some different results. And with our standard, odds are we will do at least the same.
Yeah.
And maybe we break through.
It's funny you mentioned New England, and we're watching games yesterday, and I am married to a woman who's a Tennessee grad who loved Peyton Manning growing up and is now married to me, a Packers fan. So she's a Packers fan. And at one point during the game, in the fourth quarter, when Caleb starts making his crazy comeback and he throws that pass, and she kind of just looks at me and we're just looking at each other. She goes, I'm so tired of the Patriots being good, and I don't want to deal with the Bears being good too. And I was like, sweetie, you better get used to seeing Drake May and Caleb Williams in the playoffs for the foreseeable future. Certainly Vrabel and the Patriots. And I don't know what's going to happen.
Caleb Williams looks pretty,
he's talented.
You can't say like the Bears are going to be a thing off of what the Bears have done so far. We would have said that last year about Washington, right?
Yeah, it's true.
But
he was the number one overall pick for a reason, won the Heisman for a reason, very talented player. He doesn't seem to do well, like based on the interception, which again, there's all kinds of like it's like the JFK assassination on this DJ Moore route on TV this morning. I just like when he has all day to throw, he's not good. Like that's it. When he is under pressure, it's fourth down and he's got to do something insane. He's special. And some guys just kind of have that.
It's crazy.
I
think he's done in this regular season and these playoffs. I mean,
tell me about
he's a riser.
Tell me about it. Call McDermott now, says Go Forth. LOL. Good afternoon. Have Saleh reunite with McDaniel too. We will get to my favorite hiring possibility. That might be it. Odds on an announcement before the college football final championship tonight. I think there's a good chance. It depends on whether or not they're interested in McDermott, whether or not McDermott expresses interest in the Titans. It depends on how the interviews go today. They could want more time with Saleh since they've just talked to him for the first time, but he's, again, more of a known commodity. Certainly Matt Nagy is a known commodity. And then we'll see what happens with Miami and Jeff Hafley. All of this could happen in the next hour. So risky for us to be talking all about it. I am curious, let's go back to the first hires. Harbaugh, we've already kind of talked about here going to the Giants, but with Stefanski going to Atlanta and then no other jobs really hiring, what does that tell you about the value of those two prospects? And does it tell you anything at all about the Titans, that they might have been in on these guys but didn't? I don't think it says a whole lot about the Titans, but I want to get your opinion.
Well, I mean, I think that Titans, in some instances, you could say were played for leverage. I think they probably came in second twice, which is not a bad spot to be. A lot of people say, second is losing, and it is, but there's no shame in Harbaugh liking you and in Stefanski liking you, just not liking you as much as the places that they landed. So, that's not bad for the franchise.
If you're an offensive guru, the weaponry in Atlanta has to be a draw.
Yeah, but no quarterback. But look, it's a more stable organization. Arthur Blank, he's fired 2 coaches in relative short order also. So, but he's a steady guy who I don't think meddles in football stuff. And it's an also weak division. Matt Ryan, if you like him, has a higher profile and whatnot. And there's no GM there. It's the only place in the league that doesn't have a GM right now, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So you have a hand in picking the GM. So it's attractive on multiple levels there, as the Giants are. It's a prestige franchise. You go and win with the Giants. It's different than winning in a lot of other places. And there's a lot of history there. It's still up in the Northeast. There's a different degree of attention. All of that could factor in for sure.
All right. So anything with McDermott, in your opinion, do you think, how does that unfold? I mean, if they don't get a decision this afternoon, does that tell you anything about their conversations with McDermott, or is it just sort of happens?
I would think that they, foresaw the potential for all of these moves, McDaniel, McDermott, Harbaugh, and had homework in place so that they know what their feeling is about Sean McDermott. They're not surprised that he's on the market. Like you might have expected it or not expected it, but you knew it was a possibility. And so, have they made a quick phone call to say, hey, we're interested. What's your timetable? What's your plan? I would, if I'm them. I think most people would, but there's a big kind of complexity to it here. If he says, I'm going to sit and wait a week like Harbaugh did or something like that, well, that throws off a lot of people's timetables. Are you going to lose your other guys? Whatever. If you get them here tomorrow, that's one thing. I don't know. I don't know if they're interested. More importantly, you don't know if he's interested. And so that's just on pause until we hear something.
I want to get into these 3 finalists here and do it kind of quickly because, again, this could all go out of date. I do think that my favorite idea of these 3 finalists, Robert Saleh, Matt Nagy, and Jeff Hafley, is a Robert Saleh, Mike McDaniel reunion. I think that's by far my favorite idea of all of this. I think he's a brilliant offensive mind. I think Saleh brings an excellent defensive mind and the leadership culture stuff. And I think that's a really nice blend, tons of experience, great for Cam Ward. I think all of that's I think that's a huge win, honestly, if it ends up that way. But I want to ask you about the process. And the first thing I want to ask you about here is some of the names that didn't get added to this very long list. Last I checked, I don't think Clint Kubiak was requested at all.
No.
Chris Shula was requested, I think, but was not ever actually interviewed, or he had a Zoom interview maybe?
He never interviewed. Now, my thinking is maybe that was Chris Shula. I mean, Chris Shula had 3 interviews late Friday afternoon, I think, after the hay was in the barn for the Rams.
Right.
And so I'm thinking, Chris Shula had limited time, and Chris Shula picked the 3 teams that he wanted to talk to, is my guess. I don't know.
Did Jesse Minter ever sit down with the Titans?
Titans had a Zoom with Jesse.
Zoom with him. So what do you make of some of the names that
and the Kingsbury and this is the first time I'm saying this anywhere. The Kingsbury thing, I think, was more Kingsbury being interested or dropping the name, and the Titans weren't necessarily making a push to talk.
Okay. I'm just curious, what do some of the names that didn't make it to the finalists round? Like, there's nothing to be said if Jason Garrett didn't make it to the finalists. No. Like, that's not a story. There's nothing there. I'm curious what it tells you, because all 3 of these candidates, 2 of them have head coaching experience in the NFL. Hafley has head coaching experience in college. They have lots of experience with the people that are in the building. They all know a lot of these people. They've overlapped. In fact, these 3 have overlapped with each other in a number of places as well. What about the names that didn't make it here? Does that tell you anything at all about either Borgonzi, his vision for the team, etc.?
I don't know. People are going crazy over McCarthy and parsing, if him having met with them multiple times really qualifies as a second interview and anything. I'll say this about McCarthy. They've got 3 guys who are scheduled to be here today or tomorrow. And McCarthy's not one of them.
Right.
And they're dealing with the people right now who are most likely to get hired. And he's not one of them. So you can get all caught up in how many times he talked to them and all of that. They're not talking to him currently. So I don't understand why people are having such a hard time wrapping their head around that, getting caught up in the reports of how often he talked to them and all of that. Are they talking to him today? Because today's when they're getting close to hiring somebody. Are they talking to him tomorrow? Because tomorrow, if they don't hire somebody today, is when they're going to be close to hiring somebody.
Well, and it seems like, and I'm not picking on Easton here, but I just saw his post about this. I think a lot of folks were saying this, like, about how the process was all FUBAR over the weekend because a second interview was happening before a first interview, or how could you do an in-person in the morning and a Zoom in the afternoon? It's like
time management. It's called time management.
I don't understand what the problem is. I don't know. I don't even know what the story is in that conversation. And again, I'm not picking on any one person here, but it seems like that got a lot of run over the weekend. And I'm just going, what are you guys talking about? Adults can do more than one thing during a day. Like, it's not a big deal. I don't.
And
understand.
also, they found out details of them having dinner, which is great. I'd like to know as much as I can. That doesn't mean they haven't had dinner with other people who have been in town. I would presume they've had dinner with everybody that's been in town, if time allowed for it, based on them piecing together things. Dinner is a common part of an interview. I've been taken out to dinner when I've been on interviews, and I'm nobody.
Yeah. That's how this works. all industries.
Yeah, people eat.
Are the reports true that the Titans know about the outside noise regarding a Nagy hire? Look, everybody knows the noise.
Reports, like somebody reported that the Titans know that there's a lot of noise about people not liking Nagy. Somebody actually reported that?
Well, I don't think anybody. I would say that every NFL team, if they do not have people paying attention to the large influential voices in the press corps or the largest folks in what conversation, like if I'm the Titans and I don't have at least somebody, if I've not delegated to somebody to listen to shows like this or read your website or read Twitter lists, like you sort of have to do that.
If that's news, I'm going to break some big news here.
Right.
I've talked to at least 2 people in the building and said, you're going to get killed if you hire Matt Nagy, right? News, go right and get a headline on that.
Did they roll their eyes at you?
I was on the old school phone call, so I could not see them.
Paul or Braden, one question I'd like answered. How did we take Nagy to dinner last night when they aren't allowed in person until today with an employed coach?
Tricky. I don't know. Maybe they really broke the rules there. I would think that as a roll into the first day, you could probably get away with that. I don't know.
Not a lot of reservations.
Maybe there's some major tampering going on there, and the Titans are not going to be allowed to hire Matt Nagy and lose a 5th round draft pick.
I heard Saleh is more of a brunch guy. I appreciate that. All right, quickly here before we get into our opinions on these last 3, Sinkers Beverages, everybody. Make sure you check out Sinkers Beverages. Of course, the In Crowd, it's their customer appreciation group. You don't get inundated with a bunch of texts or emails. You're just going to get a couple of messages a year saying, hey, we got this really cool thing for you. They do all kinds of tastings on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays over the weekend, so you can go in there and try stuff for free, see if you want to try something new. They've got all kinds of dry January stuff if you're doing that. They've got mocktails and non-alcoholic beer and THC stuff. If you want some wine and you're one of those big winos, I am not one, but if you are, they have a huge selection, lots of expertise, huge bourbon selection, great tequila selection, award-winning liquor store, 5-time liquor store of the year. Unlike Sean McDermott, they get the job done every single year. They win the trophy, and award-winning craft beer fridge too. So walk into that craft beer fridge. Craft beer, by the way, or beer in general, PK, it's what created civilization. That's not hyperbolic. That's actually what happened. So have a couple beers with people in your life, in your community. Get to know people around you. It'll make you happier. It'll make them happier. So get some beer from Sinkers Beverages. There you go.
Pick up Caribbean Daniel there, 3rd from the bottom. And let's just say this. He says Borgonzi should hire whoever he thinks is the best coach for us. Don't pull a Trey Lance over Mac Jones move. I will say this about the process, and I think he raises a good point. And look, I'm not, let Borgonzi cook, the Borgonzi scheme, all of that stuff. And anybody that watches this knows that. I think there's a matter of trust that he's gained in the time that he's been here. But you either trust the process or you don't. So you're either saying, that's the guy who's hiring the coach, and I'm going to let him do what he does and arrive at the point he arrives at and let him explain himself and see how it plays out, or you don't. You can't, I don't think, fairly cherry pick. Well, I'm on board with Borgonzi if he goes and gets McDermott, or secondarily if he hires Saleh. But if he hires Nagy, I'm out. Well, you're picking the results then. You're not picking the Titans.
I think what's interesting here is so how about this? Let me ask you about the Rooney situation with Miami and Jeff Hafley, because there's a good chance that before any decision is made by the Titans, that Hafley decides Miami's the right spot for him. He gets the offer. He chooses to go there. What you're pretty worked up about the Rooney Rule in this situation. Explain yourself.
Well, as of Saturday, I think, Hafley was set up to go to Miami on Monday today. But it looked like it was going to be difficult for Miami to hire him today, to not let him go, because they had not made a single Rooney Rule interview. Now, I feel like, look, people have strong feelings about the Rooney Rule one way or the other, but it seems like a real sham to me that they get Kelvin Shepard in, the defensive coordinator of the Lions. And I think they've announced his interview already this morning. And Raiders defensive coordinator Patrick Graham is also going to be in there, so that they have Hafley set up to be in there on the first day of, that you could talk in person to people employed by the league, and then quickly line up Graham and Shepard to get them in earlier on the same day. I mean, that's really, look,
isn't that fitting the letter of the law, though?
It's fitting the letter of the law, but it's bullshit in terms of the viability. I mean, the Titans talking to Saleh and McDaniel, legitimate candidates. I think the league would like you to be talking to legitimate candidates. I
like Shepard a lot, by the way.
Not saying I'm going to squeeze in two candidates here on the morning of hiring the guy that I want, and they weren't even scheduled until after I scheduled the guy that I'm going to try to hire on Monday night. So, yeah, I mean, can they do it? Yeah. Does it look bad? And to the Titans, do you say, well, here I am abiding by things correctly. I'm trying to get the guy in as fast as I can. I think I have a leg up as I look at the process. And then you sneak two guys in the morning in order to get yourself. It seems like real gamesmanship. Now, some people are going to say, well, the Dolphins are playing the game smartly, which maybe they are.
Yeah, I mean, if it was a clear-cut rule that had clear-cut positive, we can. There's long philosophical debates about affirmative action and the net positives and net negatives. It's very complicated. And if Jeff Hafley is the guy you want, and we all know what the goal of the Rooney Rule is to create opportunities. If you've created the opportunities and you still hire the guy you want, I guess I personally don't have an issue with that, but I understand where you're coming from and the sentiment. I think if he goes to Miami, and I'll say this because the two teams I am connected to as an adult in the NFL, the Titans who I cover and the Packers who I root for, I'd like to see Jeff Hafley in Miami. He's a good dude. He's a smart guy. I think he's a really good defensive coordinator. I would prefer to see Jeff Hafley. I'd rather have Sean McDermott take over in Green Bay and have as the DC and have Hafley in Miami. If I'm a Titans fan, I'd rather hire Matt Nagy or Robert Saleh. Now, I had a question.
Sean McDermott's not going to be a DC somewhere.
No. I agree. I'm just using it as if that would be the landing place for him for 1 year, a la Robert Saleh, kind of doing this thing. I would rather have McDermott for a year than Jeff Hafley.
McDermott will sooner not work for a year than he would be a defensive coordinator. So.
Probably make his buyout life. So Cam Ward's offspring, great name by the way, says. Who would you want as Saleh's OC? Nagy ? I heard reports that they might want him as an OC. Now, here's the thing. I don't want Matt Nagy as an offensive coordinator. I'm willing to give him a shot as the head coach because he has already said, I will not call plays. I'm learning. I've learned because here's the thing. One of the few things we've learned through Brian Callahan and through lots of studying from Nick Suss on this, the coordinators who come from the elite quarterbacks don't really work out. If you're selling me Matt Nagy, you need to sell me on what he did in Chicago with a bad quarterback, not what he did with Patrick Mahomes. He didn't do anything with Patrick Mahomes. That's Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid doing that. So I want to see him be a CEO. I'm interested more in that than him being the OC. This is why Robert Saleh is my top choice of these three.
I think that's entirely fair. I think that's entirely fair, which makes me then want to know, who did Brian Daboll work with quarterback-wise before Josh Allen? Who did he earn his way to Josh Allen?
He was with Mac Jones at Alabama, I think. I believe.
Well, that's not bad. That's not bad. Brian Daboll is my guy for offensive coordinator.
I like Brian Daboll.
Now, I don't know that he and Saleh have any kind of relationship. I think that would be a Borgonzi driven marriage. But if you gave me Saleh as the CEO / defensive schemer, and he's clearly an excellent defensive schemer. Now, people are going to point immediately to a Saturday loss to Seattle as a one-game resume, and I don't believe in one-game resumes. I think the best example of that is Sean McVay scored. His offense scored 7 points against Washington in his last game. Yeah, so you don't hire Sean McVay because of his last game as a coordinator, and look at what you miss out on.
Right.
But I think if you had a Saleh and a pairing of him with Daboll, I would be very intrigued by that. I know a lot of people put Saleh with McDaniel, who he's friends with. I've had this thing. I don't know if we discussed this last week, or if I just discussed it on my own pods. This is very relationship centric. We know Mike Borgonzi a little bit, and we've seen Mike McDaniel. We know him by resume. Let me ask you, imagine being a fly on the wall for a conversation between Mike Borgonzi and Mike McDaniel. What do you think that is like?
I think Mike McDaniel in one-on-one or like small group settings that are private, I think he's got a really interesting philosophical approach to communication. I think the way he talks about things, while at times difficult to follow on social media apps, is really, I would love to sit down and nerd out with him about stuff. I think that's really interesting. So while
Mike Borgonzi wants to sit down and nerd out with people?
So here's the thing. They are two totally different, like they're wired. Like Borgonzi has the Northeastern, like he seems like he's got the Ivy League background, but he feels like more of like a military guy, honestly. And I think, but if two people can nerd out about football, it doesn't matter. In fact, I saw a clip with Vrabel over the weekend talking about this, basically saying, and I actually thought this was like, I was like, Mike, you're kind of late to this party, buddy. Vrabel was like, yeah, I've learned that everybody's personalities are different, but they all have to have the same mentality. And earlier in my coaching life, I didn't understand that. And I was like, first of all, it shouldn't have taken you this long to get there, Mike. But anyway, I think that's the key. You can have two totally different people from two totally different backgrounds, two different styles of communication. But when they get in the room talking about the thing they love the most, I think McDaniel and Borgonzi would have an interesting conversation.
I agree, but I think they're probably simpler things. And you said you think McDaniel has a philosophy about communication. And I think Borgonzi's philosophy of communication is let's sit and talk. Let's communicate. I don't have to a philosophy of communication is bullshit.
But that's why But that is why I don't like McDaniel as much for the head coaching role, because it is so much more about people and communicating with the other person the way you know they need to be communicated with, not the way you want to communicate. And that's where I think Nagy actually could do that. I'm willing to listen to that. It feels way too incestuous, honestly, just the Matt Nagy thing. And like he did a very good job. His offenses with Mitch Trubisky, he did good work on that. They also picked out Justin Fields and didn't do good work. And I'm nervous because they know each other so well, and because he's worked with the greatest quarterback of our generation. That is a flashing neon light sign of warning that we just had with Brian Callahan. And I'm not saying they should go rebuild or recreate or chase down the old magic of Mike Vrabel, but Robert Saleh feels like a Mike Vrabel hire. And that's just like, his defenses get better. He's got all the track record of coaching with great people. I think he can allure a great coaching staff. He feels like the right guy for the job to me. And it's been, I feel like I've said Robert Saleh from the beginning of this as one of my top 2 or 3 candidates.
Me too. Just Ricky Dawson quickly saying Nagy's not under contract, which would allow for the dinner. Nagy's contract doesn't expire. I think it's been discovered until later down the road, more like draft time.
Trying to get through some of y'all's comments here. I apologize. Let's see here. Griffin says, how can they possibly sell this fan base on Nagy? Amy is going to lose a lot of money on season tickets. Number one, Amy Adams Strunk doesn't lose money on anything. She does nothing but print money no matter what. All the season tickets for the new stadium, by the way, I think most of them are sold as much as they're trying to.
Here's how you sell it.
But I agree with the basic sentiment.
You don't sell it at the press conference. You sell it patiently by winning games in September, right, October, November, and right, showing a much better Cam Ward and picking players that are collectively in free agency and in the draft that are going to surround Cam Ward, play to your philosophy, to your defensive coordinator's philosophy, et cetera, et cetera. They're not going to win the press conference. Oftentimes winning the press conference isn't the best thing.
Yeah, no, it's never, rarely, ever is it the best thing. Let's see here. Job Martin says, my guy was Anthony C. Campanile from the Jags, but the Ravens are on him. Titans didn't interview him. That kind of falls into the process question about that as well. Dayball for OC says Daniel, excuse me. That's Brian Dayball. Let's see here. This is an interesting one here from Sean. I honestly don't get the Nagy hate. I much prefer Saleh, but Nagy didn't do that badly in Chicago. He was a double doink away from winning a playoff game. This is where I've come on Nagy. He's not an inspiring name, but as I said at the very beginning, if that is your last resort, this is a pretty good hiring cycle then for the Titans, better than we expected. I'm willing to give Nagy the opportunity to show in his second stint with a slightly tweaked approach that he could be pretty good. And if Borgonzi knows everything there is to know about this guy and still says, yes, I'm putting my career on the line for you, that does have to count for something.
Thing about what Nagy did in Chicago is that they regressed, right? He started at his best and ended at his worst. Now, if it went the other way, he might be still coaching there. It would have lasted longer or whatever, but that's not the track that you want to see for a guy in his 4-year period.
Calling plays is an art, says Jabbar. I think that's Jab Martin. Sorry, Jabbar. Yeah. Calling plays is an art. Nagy just watches Reed. True, he's not supposed to be calling plays if he's hired as a head coach.
But he has called plays in the past. And to hear stories of it, he started brilliantly well with Trubisky, very simple, and started to ramp it up, and Trubisky couldn't handle it.
Dayball should already have a plan for how to utilize Cam Ward as
Absolutely, from scouting him for the draft.
Yeah, there's no question about that. I'd love to have Bobby Slowick. I'm not opposed to that as an offensive coordinator, but that's not the most inspiring hire, considering his kind of fall from grace to some degree. This is a good point about Robert Saleh's current defense as they put up bad numbers against Seattle over the weekend. Decimated 49ers defense. If you look at the way they got better in his only year there, this second stint, not only did the numbers get much better, but they also did it without their two best players, Bosa and Warner, for most of the entire season.
It's Vrabel-esque. I mean, Vrabel's did good things with defenses that lost guys, patching in, some ridiculously under-talented people. By the way, a couple of whom were on, Robert Spillane didn't even make the Titans. And he's out there making a key pass breakup, pretty deep down the field for a slow middle linebacker.
Coach will be announced tonight. He's not breaking news there, says Jab. Let's see here. MLB2PDX says, yes, Saleh is bald Vrabel, leader of men. There you go. Winning cures everything, says Matt. That is completely true. Sammy, good to see you. Missed the top, praying for Saleh. Wouldn't hate Nagy as OC. This is where I think we're kind of getting over our skis here. The odds that two people in these three finalists come together on this trip seems unlikely. I guess it's possible. But again, I want Nagy as a CEO. I want to see what he does as a CEO. I don't necessarily love him as the OC, but very experienced. What he managed to do with Trubisky is a plus to me, and I think you're selling him a bit short in Kansas City. Played a big role in Mahomes' growth. That's fine. So did Andy Reid. I have a tough time. What history shows us is that people who are the main coordinator / play caller for the greatest quarterbacks of all time, they don't go on to do anything as head coaches. They don't. That was Brian Callahan. That's Josh McDaniels every time he leaves New England. There's a lot of history of guys. The only one that's ever really been successful was Andy Reid. He was the only one because he was Brett Favre's offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach, and he left and became
not
successful.
Offensive coordinator.
Defensive coordinator, is that right?
Not offensive coordinator, just quarterbacks coach.
Just quarterback.
Andy Reid was not an offensive coordinator.
According to Suss, he's the only one that has left a Hall of Fame quarterback and gone on to be a great head coach. And that's a telling statistic in my book. So
very telling.
All right, do you have a ranking here? Do you want to just quickly do this and we can kind of move on
for who I like?
Yeah. What would you, if you're sitting down to write the column, give me how about this? Give me the lead for all three names. If you're sitting down and you're working through how I want to present this to my audience, they've hired Matt Nagy, they've hired Robert Saleh, they've hired Jeff Hafley. How do you frame the lead for all three of those?
Matt Nagy will have to prove to Titans fans that he's more than Mike Borgonzi's close friend.
Okay.
Robert Saleh has the potential to bring the Titans back the sort of energy they lost when they stupidly fired Mike Vrabel.
Gotta get that jab in there.
Jeff Hafley is a young up-and-comer who brings the Titans a lot of promise but has a lot to prove.
I think based on your three leads there, it seems pretty obvious who I would hire. Just as a point of fact.
Candidate B. Look, we've both liked Saleh from the start. Now, look, those, Nick's got that great stat about that you just shared. He's got another one about second chance head coaches who generally don't do well either. So you're looking for an exception. Can Saleh be an exception? Great defensive mind, who's done some great defensive things, who needs to surround himself with good people, and who needs to show us that the dysfunction around him with the Jets was the number one reason why he didn't produce results.
I mean, the defense got...
That's the second graph.
The defense got so much better almost immediately and then fell off the table as soon as he left. And I think that speaks volumes to the quality of defense he could build. And then again, a lot of my questions around Saleh are just like, what is the offense going to look like? What's your plan for it? And I have no problem with McDaniel. I would love that combination. I think Dayball with Saleh would be a heck of a combination. I think there's lots of names you can go get that would be a good combination with Saleh. So, I think it's pretty clear who we are rooting for, or not rooting for, but who we would pick from an analysis standpoint.
Yeah. And look, for me, I'll have a big reaction to whoever it is, and then he gets a clean slate, and I'll start reporting on what he does. Also, there is going to be, if you think this has been fun or annoying or whatever you think about the coaching search thing, the domino's going to fall. These jobs are going to start getting taken, and then there's going to be Wild West in terms of putting together staffs. That's just going to be something else. You got to get those coordinators in place. And then, quality position coaches are a commodity.
I do think one thing we haven't touched on that I want to include in this conversation, which is more about the Saleh Hafley combination, because we don't really know who Hafley would go get either on the offensive side of the ball. There's lots of LaFleur, Shanahan background in his resume as well. I think there's a big difference though between the schemes that they want to run. Hafley wants to run a 4-3, and Saleh runs a little bit more of a different type of approach on the defensive line. I have been told that there is a lot of debate right now inside the building about what scheme they want to be in the future on defense. That there is a debate right now as they are prepared to look at edge rushers in the draft with the combination of Sweat and Simmons, that they don't exactly have, they're not married to a philosophy yet. That they're just as interested in a 4-3 as they would be an odd man front as well. So I think there's an interesting sort of like, what do we want to be? What do we think the philosophy of winning is going to be for our current star player, which is Jeffrey Simmons? And so that's the one player I think you consider maybe in all of this. I don't think, other than Cam Ward on offense, on defense, I think it's mostly, does this maximize Jeffrey Simmons' ability? I don't know.
I know it's got a lot to do with size and shape, but you're never going to have three guys on the line, really. Are you going to have four guys up there? You're going to have five guys up there. What's the shape of it? Teams are not strictly 3 and 4 man fronts anymore. And how often are you really in base? And do you build for base? I don't think you really build for your base anymore. So I understand that there's an important distinction in a way, but I don't think it's nearly what it was once upon a time.
And it's why 40 minutes into the conversation, it's I feel okay bringing it up, because again, what I think is happening is, at least the picture that's been painted for me, is that there's a discussion right now that they're debating what to be, and Saleh's more of a wide 9, right? Which is you're going to have those.
I like that.
Those defensive ends are going to be kicked way out wide. They're going to come at from an angle. It's a little different than sort of a traditional 4-3, which is where Hafley wants his defenses to line up. So
Titans at their best were wide 9, obviously, with Jim Schwartz and of course Jim Washburn.
I see a race goal here saying Zach Taylor seems to be making room for a reunion with Brian Callahan. Didn't he go interview? Wasn't he interviewing over the weekend?
Well, I think that Brian Callahan could wind up in Atlanta. I think there's a Callahan-Stefanski connection. Certainly, Bill Callahan was connected with Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland. But it seems weird to me. So is Zach Taylor giving up play calling? Therefore, he's creating a new offensive coordinator position? Because I saw something today that Dan Pincher was interviewing for it. But Dan Pincher's already technically in that offensive coordinator position that Brian Callahan vacated when he came here. So what's going on there exactly?
I don't know. I think it's interesting. It sounds like Atlanta would be a good fit for Brian Callahan. Oh, this hit me. Speaking of Atlanta, wouldn't Arthur Smith be a viable option for either Robert Saleh, Jeff Hafley, or Nagy to come back here? I know that's even more incestuous, but I mean, that's a solid offensive mind that's very familiar with the organization and the leadership structure and the building and the people. So
conceivably,
I like Arthur Smith's offense.
I like Arthur Smith too. Little run heavy. But look, you don't know, if he'd come back and be as run heavy, depending on the personnel that they had.
Sure.
When you have Derrick Henry, the decision's made for you.
So there you go. Sinkers Beverages, everybody. We'll let some more comments trickle in, and we'll get to what you guys think here. But obviously, Sinkers Beverages, award-winning liquor store, 5-time liquor store of the year. Right there in the heart of East Nashville off Gallatin Pike. I talk to so many of you every time I go in there. One of the coolest things about this, and I know you experienced this with your products and your company and your business over the years. Like when you go into Sinkers and I see somebody that listens to this show and has driven past like 3 other liquor stores to get there, and they're like, yeah, we love the show. We support good small businesses. That's like the greatest thing that could happen to me. And I think it's awesome. And I think Sinkers deserves it because they put in the effort to be worthy of that kind of effort. And so it's about people, man. Just like hiring a coach. It's all about people. Tonight, if you're watching the Hoosiers against the Miami Hurricanes, as we are all rooting for IU, of course, make sure you search Uber Eats and have the booze delivered directly to your house. No reason to go anywhere. Just have Sinkers send it right to your party, wherever it is you're watching the national championship game today. That is for sure. A few more of you guys in the comments here. Let's see here. I blame Zach Taylor. that's just a evergreen comment from Coach Wills.
So Pincher's looking for play calling coordinator jobs. Presumption is he gets one, and then Taylor's looking for a non-play calling offensive coordinator.
So there you go. How's the moist January going, Braden? So here's the deal. It's going wonderfully. I am healthier. I'm sleeping better, and I had something to drink after the Packers lost to the Bears. I had my whiskey 2 Saturdays ago.
Weak
for sure. No, I'm fine. It doesn't bother me. My intention was to drink less and to be healthier, and I am doing that. So far, I'm more successful than any of the referees this weekend.
I'm eating less, but not as much less as I want.
As you should.
But less.
That's true. I'm back to green. I'm back to anything green during lunches. I've got to be just eating green, just salads during lunches. That's what I got to do. But I don't love non-alcoholic beer, but the non-alcoholic beer at Sinkers is unbelievable. And the THC bevies are great. They're great. No. By the way, somebody texted me, a prominent small business owner in Nashville texted me and said, basically that his favorite part of the show is listening to me try to explain THC beverages to you.
It's not dry.
You want me to read it?
No.
Oh, you and PK going back and forth on Dry January is hilarious. I'm gonna read it anyway. I'll become a free agent fan if they hire Nagy. Man, they are gonna have to. They are not in on this, and I think it's the perception of the friendship and everything is, of course, what it is. It's not necessarily anything about whether or not he's qualified or not for the job. Moist January. Thank you, Jess. There you go. Can anyone explain to me why there are so many people who dislike the word moist? I mean, have you said it out loud recently?
I don't have a problem with it. I think it's more of a gender specific thing.
Moist, moisture, moistly, moisten. My wife doesn't like it.
I think it's more of a gender specific thing.
How about this? Maybe it's PTSD from Vrabel hiring all of his buddies. I think
I've gotten that question. Yeah. I've gotten that question. Again, though, that's a little bit overrated. Mike Vrabel did not know Todd Downing when he hired him from the Raiders. Now, did they become buddies? Apparently, yeah.
And that was his worst hire of all the coordinators.
Yeah.
So Saleh and McDaniel would be very interesting, says Ricky. I think to your point of the lead of your article, if they walk out of here with Saleh and McDaniel, I don't know how you don't. And this maybe is how we should end the conversation. There's going to be evaluations in the moment of what happens. And if it's Robert Saleh and Mike McDaniel, the reaction from both local folks, me and you, other people, the national folks will be great job, Titans. And I think that's the right reaction. But then there's going to be other stuff that comes out as time goes on and we get away from sort of the fog of war of covering a coaching search, that we're going to learn more about what went down, who talked to who made decisions, prioritizing different people in different situations. It's going to take time for us to truly have a full picture of what happened. So my advice to people is don't overreact based on the information we have right now, as it's cloudy and murky. We don't know exactly what's going on specifically.
Albert Breer will have that story. He's very good at sussing out.
Yeah.
No mention of Nick.
I see what you did there. See what you did there. Please, Kuharsky, new coach. Is that a comment? Is that a question?
They're not going to have the old coach. I guarantee that Mike McCoy is not going to be hired. So I can grant your wish.
Top tier coach is not interested in coming here. DJ says, look, if Robert Saleh picks the Titans, is it safe to say that he was the third or fourth best option on the board? I mean, it's clear that Stefanski and Harbaugh were the top two. And that's why they went early. Everyone was in on them. And now there's whatever it is, 7 or 8 more jobs still open, waiting to finish their processes to get to this point. I still think Saleh's one of the best available candidates. No?
I don't know. I mean, do we think that Arizona's getting a great coach? Do we think,
Cleveland?
You think Miami's winning huge by getting Hafley? If you think Miami's doing better than the Titans and they're getting one of the Titans' top 3 candidates, then you're kind of tying yourself in a knot, aren't you? I think Pittsburgh will hire a young defensive guy because that's what Pittsburgh does. So are you going to champion Pittsburgh's hire? Baltimore, I think, could get who they want. That's a great job.
Yeah.
But what's you want to demean the Titans job? That's fine. What job is great? Buffalo's a great job.
Buffalo now, yeah.
Buffalo and Baltimore are very good jobs. Outside of that, who do you think is better than the Titans? I'm not going to argue with you, but I mean, Arizona's definitely not. Cleveland is definitely not in my estimation. Las Vegas is definitely not.
Yeah, I agree.
So the Titans are at least, 5th best.
Well, if you take Harbaugh and Stefanski off the table and you still have Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen on the table, that is better than what the Titans can offer currently. Buffalo, similar situation with a new stadium coming and, a good roster, and Baltimore with a great front office. And I don't know why finishing behind those options would be considered a knock actually on the Titans. I don't think it is. And there's a bunch of people on this has been something that it's been bothering me for the whole process, which is that there's this assumption that the job is terrible because of Amy Adams Strunk. I'm like, she lives in another state and doesn't really bother you day to day.
Well, the job becomes terrible when she injects herself in it later,
right,
not now at the beginning.
Right.
And the other thing is, stadium to me is overrated as a factor.
I agree.
But it's a middle of the pack job in terms of what's open. I mean, you think you're exposing some great revelation when you say that?
No,
the idea that people don't want to come here. I don't know.
No, I think it's a better job. I think it's a better job than the average internet user thinks it is, because people trust Mike Borgonzi. And I've heard a lot of people in the last week or two raving about the film study of Cam Ward. Football people that I trust. And if people are higher on Cam Ward and Mike Borgonzi, my point is those two things outweigh anything an owner does from another state once a year. Like I just don't think it's nearly as valuable as trusting the guy who's picking your players and trusting the guy who's throwing the football. That's all.
Well, the Strunk thing to me is job security. And
Sure.
you might not like Cam Ward, but he gives you something to start with here that you don't have in Arizona, you don't have in Cleveland, you don't have in Miami, you don't have in Pittsburgh. Some people have said, wouldn't you rather start with zero? No, not if you don't have the number one pick. And Mendoza, the idea of starting with zero is horrifying at quarterback.
Yeah. Titans Twitter is a dark place right now.
Titans Twitter is also a very stupid place right now.
No, I agree. There are so many self-loathing Titans fans just excited to self-flagellate at the possibility of failure. They love it. Thank you, Jason.
Panicking over nothing yet. I mean, maybe in 3 days there'll be something to panic over, but right now.
Sure. People are overreacting to Harbaugh and Stefanski going elsewhere on top of Nagy seeming to be the favorite over perceived better coaching options. All of that is what's happening. But that seems why get upset that John Harbaugh picked the New York Giants? Like that doesn't seem like something to rationally be upset about. I don't know.
Stop the show says if those people were winning, Amy wouldn't be firing them. Guess who hired them?
Right. That's exactly right. 2 weeks ago, content creators wanted beat writer heads. There you go. Coach Will's always on top of his game. Okay. Do you remember? I just want to finish here on a kind of a lighter note. Do you remember the greatest if I said, what's the greatest regular season NFL game in your lifetime or career or modern era? Just, I don't care where you put the line of demarcation. Mm-hmm. What do you have anything that stands out? Like where you go, man, I remember that one.
I am so bad at things like this. Suss probably gave you a top 20 off the top of his head.
He probably has it like on a spreadsheet somewhere. I cannot remember a game that I definitively would say was better than the Rams and Seahawks game from Thursday night a few weeks ago.
That's a good one.
I cannot remember a game. Now, there probably are. There probably are some. Honestly, I think the Lions-Chiefs game from like the beginning of the season last year was great. There are great games. No question about it. But the things that happened in that Rams-Seahawks game, I have never seen before. Someone casually strolling into the end zone to pick up a 2-point conversion is something I've never seen before. The punt return, the comebacks, down 16 points.
Is that the one where Al Michaels called that great touchdown?
2 points.
And he caught it, and he's going to go in the end zone.
Are you anti-Al Michaels?
Looks like it's going to be a touchdown.
Okay.
Well, very conversationally just mentioned that it was a touchdown.
There's things that I remember as a kid. Like I remember Brett Favre's Monday night game against the Raiders after his dad died. Like there's certain things like that, but that doesn't mean that was like as an objective observer. Obviously, I hate the effing Bears, so I'm glad that they lost the game last night. But the Rams-Seahawks game I cannot think of a better football game. And for that to now be the NFC Championship game with all the talent and all the offense and all the defense and the scheme and the rivalry in the division to go to the Super Bowl, I'm not picking the Patriots to win the Super Bowl if they get there. I can't pick the Broncos either. I think the winner of that NFC Championship game is your clear heavy favorite in the Super Bowl, and it was one of the best regular season games I've ever seen. I am excited about. I'm bummed that Bo Nix is hurt. That's a huge bummer to not see the two best teams in the AFC battle it out for a trip to the Super Bowl.
They shouldn't have won that game. So if you call the Bills play correctly, then the right team wins the game, and then you got a better matchup because their quarterback didn't break his ankle. I think Seattle beats the Rams by 10, and it's a big anticlimactic thing.
Damn, why you gotta poo-poo all my joy and excitement about this? PK has Michael's beef.
I like Al Michaels. I love Al Michaels. Historically,
first it was Simmons, now it's Al Michaels.
Historically great, but I mean his energy level is just down to like a 2.
I think he definitely peaked in the past
6 years ago,
and he's letting Herbie carry him for sure. Herbie has all the youth and energy and the understanding and the information. Al's just sort of like how Keith Jackson and Vern Lundquist were. You could tell that they shouldn't have been doing it anymore, but because they were like because the history and the location and the gravitas and the knowledge and the professionalism, maybe he lasts longer than he's supposed to.
I don't like the way we celebrate people for being overextended. Like Herb Street, there's no reason for Herb Street to do NFL. Let Herb Street do his college. Over promote that he takes his dog everywhere and loves him more than his children.
He is a really good color analyst.
I agree. I think he's a really good color analyst.
Better than most NFL color analysts.
I don't think he's as good on the NFL as he is in college. And I don't want the cross promotion of the voices. I want him to be the voice of college football. And Laura Rutledge is tremendous. But all of her friends spend all of their time touting her on social media that she is so overextended. And look how great she is as she runs across the field because she's doing the sideline report and she's doing the desk. Well, you have 1 billion people. So let's make it so that she doesn't have to be out of breath when she sits at the desk and she can just do one person's job instead of doing 3 people's job, and let her be really good at the one instead of asking her to do 3. I think that's reasonable.
I don't disagree with your conversation or your comment about overextension. I think what makes Herbie good at doing NFL games is his college knowledge base. I think it helps you when you talk about players and their background and their backstory because it's such a young league now. I do think it helps. I just think he's better than the majority of NFL broadcasters on a Sunday, especially during the regular season. Maybe not in the playoffs when you get the top team from each broadcast network. But I think in the regular season, he is better than like 9 or 10 of the analysts you're going to see on Sundays. And
I love Laura Rutledge, and I love Herb Street. So I'm not even getting to the people that I hate. Like Stephen A. Smith's got to be on absolutely everything. I hear you. Well, there's no avoiding him. And everybody I know doesn't like him. And you can't hide from him. I don't want to hide from Laura Rutledge. She's good. I think she deserves a break. I think Stephen Smith demands a break.
Yeah. Here we go. Laura Rutledge, friend of the pod. If you say Nick Suss's name 3 times with some historical data needs, he'll just text you the answer. And the answer since regular season games are Chiefs-Rams 2018. I don't even remember that game, but I'm sure it was great.
Give us a little meat on the bone, man. The one where X, Y, and Z happened.
This is why he doesn't tweet. He only writes 3,000-word stories about whatever's going on. All right, yeah, McAfee, current king of overexposure. I don't necessarily disagree with that.
McAfee, who said, everybody in our line of work hates sports and is old curmudgeon, but then a few days later had on somebody that qualifies as a high level one of us as a guest.
Yeah,
a big hypocrite.
Here's a fascinating. This is a fascinating opinion. All right, I'm just going to tell you this right on the front end here. You don't have to read or listen or follow any of these people. You don't have to.
Oh, I don't.
I'm not talking about you. I'm saying
watch Stephen A. Smith.
Everybody out there, like, and Jess is saying there's no avoiding him, or I guess you're quoting somebody there, like. You can curate your online existence if you want to. You can just read paulkuharsky.com. You could just listen to 440 shows that you like. There might be plenty that you don't like. You don't have to follow, read, listen to, consume stuff from people you don't like. The number of people that text me stuff about Paul Feinbaum who are like Big Ten fans, and they're like, I can't believe he would say this. And I'm like, why not? He is saying it to get you to text this to me. This is why he gets paid. This is Stillman's entire business model. Like, that's what this is. If you don't like it, don't listen to it. It's okay.
By the way, Coach Wills, I love dogs. I hate Kirk Herbstreit's dog.
It's worse. That's not as bad as Lane Kiffin.
He didn't even love his old dog. He replaced him in a week.
No, you got to get an
I love this dog, Ben. Ben is the greatest dog in the world. Oh, hi, Joe. You got to
have an overlap dog. If your dog's getting old, you got to get the overlap dog to keep the older one a little bit. Yeah,
well, he didn't do that. Yeah. He let Ben die, and he replaced Ben in a week.
Yeah. Well,
that's bullshit.
Hey, stop. That's still better. That's still way better than Lane Kiffin not even living with the dog that he claims is his dog.
If you love your dog that much, you mourn your dog for a little while before you go get another dog.
Oh, stop. Don't tell somebody how to mourn something publicly when you have hundreds of millions of followers. Stop it.
I have to take my dog on my plane.
Lane Kiffin
survive.
Lane Kiffin,
the mental patient.
Lane Kiffin promoted Juice, right? Juice was Lane Kiffin's dog, right? Lane Kiffin promoted Juice like it was his dog for every year he was in Ole Miss. It was run by a handler. It wasn't even his dog.
Lane Kiffin's in a different class of man.
At least these are his dogs. Herbie takes these dogs walking in Percy Warner Park, PK.
What
are
if
you
I
talking
don't
about?
want Herbie's dog in my booth, if I'm his spotter and I'm allergic to dogs? What about that? Does he consider that? No, he didn't give a shit about anyone. He cares about the dog. I care about humans.
Are you done?
Humans first.
Humans.
Yeah, humans.
Humans.
Then dogs.
Oh, I was worried if we were going to have enough content for the whole hour.
Then goldfish. We've got a goldfish named Lucky. My kid brought home a fair fish.
That's Sam.
My wife was compelled to keep it alive. 5 years later on our kitchen counter.
Did you ever buy a replacement fish and not tell your kid?
No, this fish has thrived.
We had to buy a replacement fish because my youngest murdered the first fish and didn't know she had done it. So we just replaced him real fast while she was on a sleepover, came back and the fish was fine, even though she'd overfed it and murdered the fish. She still thought that was, I can't remember what the name of the fish was, but she still thought when number 2 died, she still thought it was number 1.
I'm trying not to be an overfed fish. That's my New Year's intention.
I wish you the best of luck in that. And it sounds like, yeah, exactly. Steffi Knuckles says, Coach announcement will break 45 seconds after this pod. If it does, PK, maybe you and I can come back tomorrow morning.
Yeah, we'll come
back tomorrow morning. I have a dog named Willie Nelson, who is a total space cadet, and I like him. I don't love him because he's not my old dog, Henry. And my old dog, Henry, was with us through so much of our lives. But my wife and my youngest daughter picked out this one, and I will tolerate him.
I have a dog named Ripley. I love him. I loved Finley more, but Finley was with us longer. But I don't take him on planes and stuff. He's a dog.
Well, we don't ride on private jets.
If I had a private jet, I don't know that.
Oh, I would bring my dog on a private jet. Hell yeah, I would. Hell yeah. If you don't bring your dog on a private jet, because even if you're allowed to,
I probably would. But
what are you going to do? Pay to board him?
I wouldn't do videos about it.
Oh, yes, you would.
Every video?
You would. If you were on a private jet
Week
tomorrow
16,
with
here's
your dog,
another video of me and my replacement dog.
Guys, don't listen to this bullshit. He would absolutely post a video of his dog on a private jet. For sure you would. I would. Everybody would. Come on, man.
I want to run into Herb Street.
You're only lying to yourself.
Run into him at a Preds game once in a while.
Well, just take him. Just go to Percy.
The Preds.
Take your dog on a walk at Percy Warner Park.
Does he live here anymore? I thought he moved.
I don't know. I thought he's always in Percy Warner, I think. So
how do you like? How often do you pack up your car and go on a family trip all the way to Percy Warner Park?
It is a long drive for us.
I know, because you chose to move out of town.
It's a long. No, I live in town. You don't live in town. You don't even live in this county. You can't even vote for the mayor. What are you talking about?
It's good.
I'm gonna start calling you. Oh, never mind. I don't want to start that conversation.
Look,
there's somebody else who used to work with you that used to live in Nashville that now has headed out to your area, and he also makes people angry on the internet.
Talk again about the schools if you want. I don't want to drag you through this where your girls are going to have to go private.
Most exclusive school in Nashville is where my kids go to elementary school, as voted on by Business Journal. According to the acceptance ratios.
Well, I'm glad you're doing so well that you can send 2 young ladies to private school. That's fantastic.
No, they're not. They're
440 Sports.
They're in public school. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right.
How is a public school the most exclusive school? Public schools have open doors.
No, it's about you can apply. It's been a long time for you, I guess. I can tell. You can apply to go to a school that's out of your zone.
Magnet. Right. So you have to leave your area to go to.
Right. People are coming to my school I am zoned for my school, Paul. I am zoned for it. I walk to school. Not me. I walk the kids to school.
Yeah,
they
you
walk
need to
home.
go to school.
They're going to next year, no buses, no aftercare. They're riding their bikes next year.
Through the rain.
Our elementary school.
Both ways. Barefoot.
Yeah, it builds character, PK. Builds character. No, we had like the second lowest acceptance rate of any application a public school in the.
I don't even know the area code where he lives.
Jason says my son goes to a great East Nashville school. The school is as good as the parents. There you go. The school is as good as the parents. Thank you, Jason.
As good as the parents.
Parents
wearing their Rasta hats with the long hair.
We go to. You obviously haven't been over here in a while. It's way more gentrified than that. We send our kids to public school. PK won't even take his dog on his private jet.
My kid's in public school. I moved here for the public schools.
Does he fly on the PJ to and from school every day?
No, we live very close. But now he drives this damn truck. And then we could go on and on and on.
Exclusive, says Steven.
Sounds
Sounds
elitist.
elitist. Thought you were a common man.
He's an elitist.
I'm
He's
zoned for the school because I bought a house in the neighborhood that the school is in. So I can't help it that people want to come to our school now. It's a good thing. The teachers are great. The principal's great. Kids are having a great time.
I've been over there. It's a nice neighborhood.
It is. Thank you. Thank you. See?
But
And
I mean, it's
and I used to live in your area, and I would never live there again.
an hour trip. Get us off the air. People are getting tired.
Sinker's Beverages, everybody. I'm trying to keep you here as long as I can so that the news breaks and it ruins your afternoon. We'll see what happens with the Tennessee Titans. Stay tuned. Sinker's Beverages, paulkuharsky.com. We'll talk to you on Thursday. Peace and love.